It is the internet's domain of death, Reaper Metal Radio. And here is your host, Reaper.
Good thing we won't need this crowbar, because there's these fasteners on this Deceased box set. And in a moment, we're going to be getting to that, because we got an all-new Metal Relics. After that, there's going to be some other guests. King Fowley is supposed to show up. Slasher Dave is supposed to take us on a tour of his Halloween set. And all that wouldn't be possible if you didn't go to ReaperMetalProductions.com. And while you're there, you can check out the hours worth of podcasts and numerous content, the bands that we work with, affiliates and friends that we have, and you can be one of the coolest fucking people that is in the coolest fucking fan club, and that is on Patreon. That link is there as well. Stick around until the end because you have an exclusive opportunity for a trick or treat. We're going to take a look at these Metal Relics. Today on Metal Relics, Synth Busters. Who are you gonna call? I called upon my local record store a few years back, the Record Exchange if you're from the area, and I got this badass Entombed Left Hand Path picture disc, because I wasn't there to get the original as it is at the time. But what the hell does Entombed have to do with synth? Well, if we have any sort of Halloween topic at hand, we're just talking about really the influence of what synth is in metal, and what it is in like horror, where a lot of the influence comes from. Entombed in particular, they, for the title track, Left Hand Path, pretty much, I didn't play them back to back, but pretty much ripped off Phantasm with the exact theme song. So, producer, why don't you hook this bad boy up and we'll take a listen. Nice little brass screws or something to bolt that on there. Let's see what's in this Deceased box. It's the demo era, and one of our guests tonight, King Fowley, is obviously the vocalist, drummer, at this point vocalist of DECEASED, but obviously one of the founding members and would have been on every era. And just talking about this synth stuff, as these demos are not, DECEASED later did have some synth. So King's going to be joining us in a little bit, and we're going to be talking about that and taking a listen to some particular examples. But let's check out these killer fucking picture discs, because look at that. Demos from the Grave. It's a triple LP picture disc, and then we got the cassette versions of these demos, and then the picture disc artwork is basically the redrawn, or the original of it on one side, and then the redone artwork of it on that side. Really freaking cool. Nuclear Exorcist demo. There's like the original. And a record slip mat. Putting all the demos into perspective of an era that had plenty of horror but zero synth. So I'm looking forward to talking to King about that and their relationship and inspiration towards synth. And our last item tonight may not truly be a relic, because perhaps the time has not passed. 2009, Acid Witch, Witch House, the second release, with Lassie from Hooded Menace, the original vocalist for the band. Definitely a personal favorite of mine, but if that's something you want to debate, let it be known in the comments. Is this truly a relic, and how much more time does it need to be one? Slasher Dave is our first guest for tonight, so stick around after these messages. Producer, who the hell is this?
Captain Howdy. That could be Slasher Dave, no?
He is an Exorcist fan. Dude, that ain't Slasher Dave. I mean, what the hell do I say to that?
Fucking love him, brah.
Take that, Captain. Oh, here's Dave.
This is Slasher Dave from Acid Witch, and I decided to show you a little bit of my house. I think when you pull up in the parking lot of a haunted house during Halloween and you just see an old Kroger building, it's not that scary. Not a lot of people are gonna go to it. So they used to build this giant wraparound facade. I didn't wrap my house in a facade, but I want to. I'm gonna take you outside to check it out right now. Alright, here's the back side of the facade. I just walked out my front door. Yeah, I got exposed nails. I don't give a fuck. I've got it zip tied to my porch fence. I like cheap shit. I like cheap Halloween shit. So if you look over here, I got the old Acid Witch. She's got a rat on her shoulder. It's hand painted. I garbage picked all of this wood and used existing wood from old shit in my garage and the haunted house I used to work at. If you come over here, through the spooky web, I have Hooded Fear Mask in green from my new album, The Jack-O-Lantern Murders. I hope everyone's Halloween is good. I love cheap shit. Get a shot of this skeleton boy with the flesh tie. And here it is, all lit up. It's almost night.
Hey, this is Chris from 6 Feet Under. Today we're here at Vanarchy over in Strongsville, Ohio. My boy Ben's got us juiced up, so I want to take you for a ride. This is a 1976 Dodge van. It's got a Chrysler 420, 440. Ben, he calls it the Mean Street. They do really good work here at Vanarchy. Got this beauty in the ultra orange. And then this is my favorite addition. This license plate frame. I mean, it kind of says it all, right?
I want to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Well, fortunately for you, you can't come and join me, because I'm going to do some burnouts. Vanarchy's really got this baby fired up. Come and get your man!
Our next guest knows all about vans, because in 1997, he invited us for a ride in his black van on the self-titled Vladimir's album, which you can see Marcus Thomas, vocalist, guitarist, pictured there, because in 2019, Reaper Metal Productions was able to reissue that long out-of-print CD, and if you didn't remember that, well then, you might remember him calling you out on the back of Faith Extractor, Raising the World, the Myth LP, that Redefining Darkness and Austenitized Records, friends of Reaper Metal, helped put out this LP and CD. Both of these items are available in the ReaperMetalProductions.com store. So in Halloween, I like to watch movies, and everything in 2021 absolutely sucks. And so Marcus Thomas has been a great inspiration for Great Things Horror, not only in his music with the Vladimirs throughout the years. So I invited Marcus to chime in all the way from Cincinnati, Ohio, to tell me what are some horror movies that are worthy of watching in 2021.
Since I was a kid, always liked The Boston Strangler from the 70s with Tony Curtis. That's a great movie. You can't go wrong with anything that Richard Stanley has done. His 3 feature films, Hardware, Dust Devil, and Color Out of Space, are all really good. I'm not a giant found footage horror fan. I like some of them, but one that I thought was really good in particular was the Poughkeepsie tapes, which I used to get. I had to actually get it at a convention because it wasn't released for so many years, but it's finally up on Shudder and some streaming services, so check it out. Pretty fucked up and creepy. Lastly, I'd like to bring up, because I don't think a lot of people know about this, the guy that did, I'm drawing a blank on his name, that did Day of the Beast, and Perdita Durango has a show now called 30 Coins, which is in Spanish, and it's really fucking cool. And it's on, I probably shouldn't say what streaming services are on. We're not doing plugs here. But that's it.
Our next guest you might recognize through his blog, record label, or many of the various bands that he has. In particular, Garden of Eyes, who I've had the pleasure of grabbing their latest, but now hard to find, 7-inch. And so Natskog, hailing from the UK, is going to provide far more suggestions for this horror problem that I have, that everything in 2021 sucks.
City of the Living Dead and the sort of Gaze trilogy by Fulci. That was from 1980. I think the whole trilogy is really cool, but the first piece, I guess, makes the most sense to recommend. Shopping Mall from 1986 by Jim Wynorski. That's maybe a bit more of a fun one. 1981's The Burning. Killer Cult Slasher. There's actually a band called Cropsy Maniac, which are inspired by that movie. So, if you like your death metal as well as your horror, which I'm assuming many of you good folks do, definitely check those guys out. Seeing as it's Reaper's video and he'd won something older than the 80s. Blood Demon from 67 by Harold Reinl. I'm not entirely sure what the original title is because it's in German. Altars and crypts and all those good things that just feel kind of superbly horror. I think that movie encapsulates all that is horror. I mean, it has Christopher Lee, so it has horror himself in a sense. Basket Case, that's a really cool movie. From Beyond, Slumber Party Massacre, Night of the Comet, Intruder, They Live, Night of the Demons, and House. Watch some horror movies, have a good Halloween, and keep it metal.
And our last guest is one of the cool people over on the Reaper Metal fan club on Patreon, ReaperMetalProductions.com, because this is what happens when you are one of our fans. We get to feature your selection. So, producer, who do we have and what do we got? We have Mario Leone, who writes, Ramiro's Dawn of the Dead, Creepshow, and Phantasm are the unholy trinity as far as I'm concerned. I just need to state that, for the record, the original Don't Be Afraid of the Dark TV movie with Kim Darby is an absolute classic, as is Bad Ronald and Salem's Lot. TV horror movies from the 70s/80s are better than the crap they try to sell us today. Rabbit is another favorite, and Prince of Darkness by John Carpenter, one of my favorites as well. I'm not entirely sure how I would rank them all, and I'm leaving out a ton of other great horror movies, but these titles are all killer in my book, and of course, The Thing by John Carpenter. Well, apparently that's why Mario is a fan club member, because I happen to agree with everything mentioned there, but I'm definitely in the dark on a few, so I'm going to have to do some new discoveries. Hello.
If the eye offends thee, pluck it out.
Who is this?
Hey.
Oh, King. Should have known it was you, man.
Avon calling.
Metal and keyboards have had their differences through the years, particularly the album wars with black metal and death metal. They pointed out as keyboards, not synth, but in reality, it's a synth is basically a keyboard. And so to think like metal is even introducing it, having bands like Joel Grind from Toxic Holocaust or even Slasher Dave full on synth and do things like horror soundtrack a la John Carpenter and all that good stuff, that like when it comes down to a just, raging metal band band like Deceased, then it's kind of a different atmosphere, or so is it. As we saw earlier, we saw the demos with Deceased, but I want to cite particularly As the Weird Travel On with the song The Funeral Parlor Secret. King Fowley was gracious enough to join me on the telly, and so King, if that made any sense, what would you say to that?
Horror tinge, it's very important, and I think the synth keys, whatever we're calling it today, is a very important thing that works when done right. You overuse it, it loses its effectiveness to me. Just starting out within a movie kind of sense, you would say tones can set things. Tons of movies over the years use nothing but just notes, one variation of a note or something like that, and you get classic, like, somber melodies. I'll use Phantasm as the all-time best one. That soundtrack is haunting as hell.
You play a good game, boy, but the game is finished. Now you die.
Phantasm.
When we were sort of doing these songs, these more horror-related stuff, less than the earlier stuff we did, which was still, horror tinge, but I wanted to go more realistic and more deeper and more dark and stuff. It needed that aura. It needed that tone to it. And when it came time to do the As the Weird Travel On record, there was going to be some parts. I would say The Funeral Parlor Secret, or even more so, A Visit from Dread, which was basically based on, in part, the movie Burnt Offerings, which on Ghostly White, we actually did the full-on thing with Mrs. Allardyce.
It will possess this woman. It will destroy this man. It will terrify this child. And no one can stop it. Burnt Offering.
I call it a hovering, where it's not dominating anything. It's not becoming like another full instrument in the band. It's just kind of like coloring in the surfaces. And in our situation, it's coloring in rusty, decaying light tones. We're not looking for happy. We're not trying to do Girls Want to Have Fun here. we're looking at Goblin, the masters of that stuff. Goblin, Jay Chataway did the Maniac soundtrack, things like that,
Maniac.
It touches that emotion in me that it gets the vibe of the song I want. Once you sit down and you go to the music and you say, hey, can I go outside the box here? We'll say Funeral Parlor Secret. Do I stay in key with what's going on? Do I take it half step off to give it some kind of like oddness, weirdness, spookiness to it? Does it work? Does it make it stupid? Does it make it cooler? Is it necessary? Visit from Dread, even more so. That's the one I'm going to as you're asking me this question. It's just, the coffin's coming up the stairs. It's time to dig your grave. All these fucking coming at you, and it's just like an overwhelming experience, kind of thing.
It's hard for me to be short and sweet, King. I feel like I'm cutting off, but that we got everything we needed.
Poser.
I like my Francis wondering. It's not bad for an amateur.
Metal.
Hopefully it'll...
I have a treat for you. 10 winners choose ANGEROT, the Splendid Inequity, Incinerator, Hypothermia, ANGEROT, the Divine Apostate. Join us to claim your prize. Reaper Metal Fan Club members choose. Claim your tier.
It is the darkest day of horror, and the end is complete for this Halloween 2021 first episode of Reaper Metal Radio. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and if you want to see more content like this, well then by all means, go over to ReaperMetalProductions.com. Enjoy the hours worth of content, but also consider becoming a fan club member and join the Reaper Metal Patreon. Where there, you will get exclusive access, which I don't need to reread for you. It's all there on the screen. But remember, we have a giveaway going on, and only fan club members can be a part of that. And speaking of the fan club, Mario, that was a solid recommendations, if not reminders of awesome shit that I should rewatch. Natskog, appreciate the 60s recommendations that I already forgot. And Marcus, I only remember the Boston Strangler, but I'm definitely going to go review everything and watch this stack of DVDs that I've already bought beforehand. So after you hopefully enjoy some movies that don't suck, you can let me know all about it, because you know exactly where I'll be. I'll be here next time on Reaper Metal Radio.